Hello, how are you? Today I'm going to tell you the best way for you to reduce that fat that sits inside your thighs, right there between your legs. A lot of people accumulate a lot of fat there, a lot of cellulite, and complain that they can lose weight and reduce fat in other areas of the body, but not there. Why does this happen, especially in women, especially as women get older, and it becomes increasingly difficult to burn that fat? Today, I'm going to explain to you, metabolically, what can help you and strategies for you to achieve better results. You're going to love this video. Stay until the end because you won't want to miss it. Before we start, I want to ask you how old you are and if you're bothered by that fat inside your thighs or not. What crazy things have you already tried to burn that fat? If we spend a lot of money on creams, massages, lymphatic drainage, all of that can help you as a complement, but there are real physiological strategies that you can use regarding lifestyle and diet that can help you get even better results. If you like this kind of topic, leave a like on the video so I know you enjoy it and share it with anyone you think might like it too, okay? Let's spread this chain of kindness and make sure this information reaches more people. This fat is really a very stubborn fat to burn. It's more resistant. The fat on the inner thigh has some specific characteristics. First, because it's an area of our body with less local circulation, so less blood flows through there, making it metabolically less active. We also have less muscle activation in that area in our daily lives, right? You don't spend all your time opening and closing your legs while sitting. You don't move those inner thigh muscles all the time, so they're muscles that are used less. I'll explain to you in a moment why it's important to activate these muscles. There's also the issue of hormonal influence, especially in women, related to the receptors present there. This means that the fat present there receives less stimulus to be used as an energy source, so it tends to accumulate more and takes longer to reduce. Besides accumulating more easily, it also burns with more difficulty. So this recipe is perfect for this mess, for this accumulation, and also for cellulite. So how do people usually try to solve this fat accumulation? A stricter diet, more cardiovascular exercise, right? More targeted exercise to burn more calories or longer training sessions, spending hours and hours at the gym doing various weight training exercises. This can even reduce overall weight, obviously it will, but specifically in that region, it might not solve the problem, and maybe that's why you're not seeing much results. Because the main factor is still that issue of local stimulation of that muscle group, which is usually not accessed much. So what happens there is that it's not just a matter of fat accumulation, and that's a very interesting point. There's a gradual loss of muscle mass in that region, especially when you've been in a caloric deficit for a long time in a weight loss process. You notice that other areas of your body are getting smaller, right? And you might be experiencing a gradual loss of muscle mass. This also happens with aging, as we know. There's also the issue of reduced metabolic activity in that area and worsening circulation, which, as I've already mentioned, is a fact. It happens. It's a less active area in our daily lives. So over time, that muscle ends up becoming less active and creates an environment that not only favors fat accumulation, but also changes the texture of the skin, and that's where cellulite comes in as well. So it's important for us to remember that cellulite isn't just localized fat. It involves three main factors: subcutaneous fat, which is indeed localized, but also fibrosis, a more rigid tissue, and the compression of microcirculation. In other words, the fat pushes the skin upward while the fibers pull it downward, creating that irregular orange peel appearance, you know? And when we notice that circulation gets worse with more fluid retention in that area, the appearance gets even worse. So ideally, we should have some strategic points, both in terms of diet and physical exercise, to achieve a significant visual improvement. Let's first think about the exercise part. I'll talk more about nutrition at the end. When we think about activating the inner thigh muscles, ideally we should do what we call eccentric exercises. These are exercises where you engage more during the lowering phase of the movement than during the upward phase itself. So a squat where you lower yourself more slowly than you rise, a lunge where you step forward and lower yourself, a single leg squat, so to speak, done more slowly, or if you use a step with a more controlled return. This type of exercise, where you train the eccentric phase of the muscle more, increases the duration of muscle activation after the workout. And it's no use just saying, I'm going to the gym to work legs, I'll do leg press, I'll do leg extensions, leg curls. You have to work the adductors, which are the muscles that bring your legs together. Specifically, this group is what provides support to the inner skin of that region. In practice, exercises like pelvic lifts, where you place a cushion or a ball between your knees and squeeze it as you lift up to do the lift, double the activation of this specific region. So the result is much more visually noticeable than if you don't do this activation. This type of stimulus is very interesting because it activates more muscle fibers, increases the recruitment of the deep muscles of the leg, and improves insulin sensitivity. With that, the muscle can naturally return to functioning exactly as it should, utilizing energy more efficiently and potentially even stimulating greater fat burning in the immediate surrounding area. It's worth mentioning that physical exercise is extremely important because of these activations and secretions and everything else, but it's also very important to talk about your diet because imagine if you do these exercises but don't have good dietary control. We know that to reduce fat in a broader way, we need to have 3 basic things. First is a caloric deficit, meaning that you consume at least 500 calories less than you would need throughout the day just to stay alive. When we talk about staying alive, it's not just your basal metabolic rate, it also includes the physical activity factor and everything else you need. I already have an entire video talking more about how much you need to eat to lose weight in a healthy way. I'll leave that video linked below, but normally a deficit of 500 calories will help you burn more fat. The second thing is to think about building muscle. If you're doing weight training, you need the substrate, the building blocks to build muscle, which are high biological value proteins. So spreading out your protein intake throughout the day and making sure you consume on average about 0.7 to 0.9 grams of protein per pound of body weight will help ensure that even in a caloric deficit, you lose fat but not muscle mass. Otherwise, your skin will become increasingly loose and flabby. The third point also has to do with reducing insulin spikes. The more insulin spikes you have throughout the day, the insulin is that hormone that stores glucose inside the cell, the more you activate this anabolic system and the less catabolism you'll have. In other words, there will be less of a signal for fat burning, which is what you want. So ideally, you should have low glycemic index carbohydrates in smaller amounts spread out over the day in about 3 meals, for example. Don't keep snacking on lots of carbs throughout the day. As I mentioned, I have many videos to help you with this. And don't forget about water, which is essential for skin health, hydration, fat burning. Our body needs water to nourish itself, to stay hydrated, and to maintain metabolic reactions. And I also have a really nice video here talking about how much water we should consume per day. It's very comprehensive. I'll leave it for you down below in the description. Another important thing to remember is that what will also help you keep your metabolism more active is aerobic exercise or physical activity throughout the day. Of course, if you can add a walk or, swimming, cycling, step, elliptical, or any targeted aerobic exercise, that's even better. But nowadays, we already know a concept called active couch potato, which literally means a big potato sitting on the couch, but doing the bare minimum of exercise. Because there are a lot of people nowadays who say, I go to the gym, I train legs for 30 minutes. It's intense, but then the person spends the whole day sitting on the couch. This harms your metabolism, impairs fat burning throughout the day, and negatively affects insulin levels, right? So staying active throughout the day, doing activities, going up and down stairs, carrying groceries, parking farther away will help you keep your metabolism more active. Also remember that all of this will help you. Unfortunately, there's no way for us to just flip a switch for the legs only, but you'll notice that all this signaling of localized fat will decrease. Obviously, if you focus on those leg muscles because of the recomposition there, the visual effect will help you a lot due to the increase in muscle mass, which will also really help keep you motivated. Tell me what you're going to start changing today regarding this. I would love to see your comment. Remember to like the video. That really helps me here, and share it with anyone who's on this journey. Let's expand this chain of kindness because that's what I want here with the channel. See you next time. Bye.